Hey guys, continuing to look at the 9-8 homework with you. Got quite a few questions, and that's great. Means you guys are, looking at the homework and being challenged a little bit. So I know you guys don't appreciate being challenged, but that's what I'm here for. So we're taking a look at 43. 43 gave you this equation and asked you to solve it. All right, so it's already set equal to 0, so I don't need to worry about that. But I've got to get that left-hand side factored. I got to get it written as a multiplication problem. And as I'm looking at that, I've got 4 terms. That kind of concerns me at the very beginning, and none of those terms have anything in common. I can't divide. There's no number that I see that I can divide everything by, and I can't factor out an x because that -4 right there doesn't have an x. So what do? Well, we go back and we did one like this on the notes. Anytime you see 4 terms, if you can't do the factoring or anything that we talked about, look to see if you can group them. All right. So I'm going to group those first 2 together, and I'm going to group the third and fourth one together. And notice on there that I wrote it as -4x plus -4. It's just easier to group them, better to group them when it's addition um, rather than subtraction. Now I look inside those individual groups. So x cubed plus x squared, what's the greatest common factor that I can take out of there? Well, they both have an x, and not only that, they both can be divided by x squared. Talked about this a little bit in the notes, that if there's exponents involved and you're looking at exponents, especially with variables, and you're looking for the greatest common factor, go with the smallest exponent you see. So if I've got an x cubed and an x squared, my greatest common factor is x squared. Um, and now I'm undistributing, so I got to think. All right, x squared times what would give me x cubed? Well, that would be x, and x squared times what would give me x squared? That would be 1. All right. So now as I look over here, what can I factor out here? I've got -4x and I've got -4. I think I can factor out a -4. And now -4 times what would give me -4x? That's x. And -4 times what would give me -4? Well, that's 1. All right, and it still equals 0. And again, I'm starting to see something I like here because I've got the x plus 1s to match out. So I can factor out an x plus 1, and that'll leave me x squared plus -4. I'm going to write that as -4, and I hope you'll see why here in a little bit, and maybe some of you already do. All right, so we factored kind of a first step, all right, but we haven't factored it completely yet. Anytime you see x squareds, I would always look, I don't like to say always, but you typically can factor that a little bit more. And this is one of those that I kind of told you to watch out for, told you to pay attention for, is this is a difference of 2 squares. This is a perfect square, x times x, and this is a perfect square, 2 times 2. And I'm subtracting them, which means I can factor that as x plus 2 and x minus 2. Learn to recognize that difference of 2 squares. Learn how to factor that difference of 2 squares. All right, and then I've still got the x plus 1 that I had factored out from the beginning. Okay, so now I'm almost there. I've got it factored completely now, and I'm multiplying 3 things and getting 0. I don't care how many things you're multiplying. If you're multiplying any number of things and getting 0 as an answer, one of those things has to be 0. So either x plus 1 has to be 0, x plus 2 has to be 0, or x minus 2 has to be 0. One of those 3 things, one of those 3 equations has to be true. So now I'm just solving from there. All right. Subtract 1 on both sides, I get x equals -1. Subtract 2 on both sides, I get x equals -2. And then add 2, I get x equals, not plus, x equals +2. All right. So 3 solutions. And again, this is kind of deep stuff. This is, your junior year type of stuff. But anytime you see a cubic, something to the 3rd degree, kind of look for 3 answers. All right. And again, if you want to take the time, I'm not going to take the time to do it now. But if you plug those values in, -1, -2, and 2, in for x, just plug the same value in all the time. It'll make the equation true. All right. All right. So again, anytime you've got 4 terms, look at that factoring by grouping. But then make sure if you've got an x squared, look at how can I factor that even more. And that difference of two squares is a really common one that comes up quite a bit. All right. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I'll be more than happy to go through those. Have a good Easter, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care.